Hello, glad you can join us. Here's what's happening this Wednesday. Split verdict, the stunning conclusion to Sean Diddy Combs' high-profile sex crimes trial.
We would have liked to have seen a conviction on the sex crimes in RICO.
Guilty and not guilty. What's next for the disgraced music mogul?
It's really hot, like ridiculously hot.
Weathering extreme heat and the wildfire threat.
I lost everything.
Plus, when a tree-cutting operation goes very, very wrong.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
A bombshell verdict after 13 hours of deliberation in the high-profile case against rap mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The music industry icon was acquitted of the more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering, but convicted of prostitution-related offenses. Late today, a judge also denied his request to be released on bail until sentencing. CTV's Adrian Gabriel now on the downfall of the former American rapper and what happens next. Adrian.
Sandy, today's mixed verdict and the shocking fall from grace for one of music's biggest names is reverberating here across the United States and the world over. Waving and smiling, the Combs family exited this New York City federal court. As protesters came face to face with supporters of Sean Diddy Combs, emotions running at a fever pitch, just moments after the jury delivered their split verdict.
Let Puffy go! Let Puffy go!
Delivered on the third day of deliberations, the jury of 8 men and 4 women declared the 55-year-old Combs not guilty of 1 count of racketeering, conspiracy, and 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, but guilty of the lesser charges of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Combs, who's already been incarcerated for 10 months, could still face considerable prison time. At sentencing, each of the prostitution transportation charges carry as much as 10 years behind bars. While Combs' lawyer declined to comment,
Saying something soon.
multiple criminal law experts are declaring today a victory for the former hip-hop mogul.
It's absolutely a win. The defense took a really big gamble going to trial on this case.
The prosecution called 34 witnesses to the stand, multiple ex-girlfriends, including singer Cassie Ventura, who claimed that Combs forced her to engage in sexual encounters called, quote, freak-offs and hotel nights. Jurors watched this 2016 hotel video of Combs dragging and kicking her. Ventura's lawyer stopped short of calling today a victory for his client.
We're pleased that he's finally been held responsible for 2 federal crimes, something that he's never faced in his life. He still faces substantial jail time. Of course, we would have liked to have seen a conviction on the sex crimes in RICO, but we understand beyond a reasonable doubt is a high standard.
With this decision, Combs avoids a possible life sentence. Moments after the verdict was read out, his family began to cheer in the courtroom as the one-time music star appeared to fall to his knees in prayer. Sandy.
CTV's Adrian Gabriel. And a Halifax man who admitted to killing his 71-year-old mother in a fit of rage last fall received a life sentence today. 41-year-old Jonathan William Pinsky pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. The charge carries an automatic life sentence with no chance of parole for 10 years. But Pinsky has already spent 265 days in prison, so he could potentially be released in 9 years. Well, if you live in the prairies or maritime provinces, we don't have to tell you it's hot out there. Environment Canada has issued heat warnings for large areas of both sides of the country. The West is also facing air quality advisories. We have 2 reports, beginning with CTV's Sarah Plowman in the East. And Sarah, what do you have?
Sandy, here in Fredericton, it's hot, it's muggy, and it's like this across most of the Maritimes. With no power or water flowing into this motel, there's been a steady flow of ice. Fans have little use despite the need. It's hot, it's humid. More than 2 weeks ago, the landlord told tenants they have to move. The building is shutting down. New apartments are being lined up. Until then, they've been offered hotels, but many chose to stay put.
And stay here and make sure my stuff was safe.
Well, it's a little warm.
I wouldn't. There's not much we can do.
Much of the Maritimes is under a heat warning. In Fredericton, the humidex is pushing temperatures into the high 30s.
It's really hot, like ridiculously hot. And if you're on any medication that makes you like sensitive, it's a horrible time.
Carl Jones is homeless. Retreating to a house with air conditioning is not an option.
Well, I beat the heat by just kind of relaxing and just enjoying the shade where I can find it.
Fewer than a quarter of Fredericton's buses have air conditioning as the city continues to modernize its fleet, and some riders notice.
There was air flowing through the windows, but not as cool as if it was air conditioning.
While some enjoy the heat, for others it's too much. Many ask how long it will last. The answer is not long.
Once we get through Thursday, we're going to see a bit change in the air mass there, and temperatures are going to drop a little bit below our warning criteria.
Back at these apartments, the biggest concern isn't the heat, it's finding a new home, a process that's underway.
I have a place, but it all depends on the paperwork.
Like many cities, Fredericton has cooling centers, splash pads and pools for people to cool off. The government of New Brunswick is reminding people to check on your neighbors, drink lots of fluid, avoid exposure to the sun, and also don't leave anyone or pet inside of a parked car. Sandy.
Good advice. All right, Sarah, thank you. And then there are those persistent wildfires raging across the country. The most concerning one now near Lytton, BC. The town under a local state of emergency almost 4 years to the day since fire almost destroyed the village. CTV's Kathy Lee on this and the heat warnings in the west. Hi, Kathy.
Sandy, the Nakia Creek wildfire is the one that's currently threatening the village of Lytton, and it's currently under 6 hectares in size.
We have moved it to the status of being held overnight, and so really not expecting it to grow outside its current boundaries.
Officials say the fire was ignited by humans and started on Monday, which was the 4-year anniversary of the devastating wildfire that destroyed the village and killed 2 people, and residents are still traumatized by that fire. And there is also another wildfire of concern in the area. This one is the Eisman Creek fire, which is 25 hectares and expected to grow.
We want the public to be able to enjoy their summer in the beautiful province that we live in, but we do ask them to just practice caution when they're recreating outside.
The prairie is also experiencing hot and dry temperatures. There are heat warnings for parts of Saskatchewan and Alberta. In this province, some areas expected to get above 35 degrees. And following the heat, there will be thunderstorms.
This is where your wildfire risk can be elevated because you're amplifying the fuel sources, you're drying out that material, and then you're looking at that convective activity with strong wind coming through that same region.
The heat wave's not just increasing the wildfire threat, it's also making it uncomfortable for people. The good news, though, is Environment Canada says it should only last a couple days.
Right.
Sandy.
CTV's Kathy Lee. Now, oppressive heat is also scorching parts of Europe. Milan is one of 18 Italian cities under code red alerts for heat. According to the European Union's climate change service, that is, Europe is the world's fastest warming continent, heating up at twice the global average. The stifling heat has forced the closure of the summit of the Eiffel Tower to visitors as temperatures in Paris reach 36 degrees this week. And parts of Mexico's Pacific coast are feeling the effects of Hurricane Flossie. While the path of the Category 2 storm looks like it will remain offshore, outer bands are pouring rain on parts of the coast. The storm was downgraded today from a Category 3. Not downgraded, the importance of trade talks with the U.S. The countdown is on to reach a deal by July the 21st. And today, Prime Minister Mark Carney sat down with top auto industry executives with a focus on Canada's car sector. CTV senior political correspondent Mike Locatour now with what came up during discussions.
Inside the Prime Minister's office, Mark Carney huddled for an hour with the Canadian CEOs of GM, Ford, Stellantis, and the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association. When it was done, François-Philippe Champagne said little about the discussion.
We had a very good meeting talking about the industry, and we've been very, very clear. We're always going to be there to support the workers and the industry.
He refused to say whether or not the federal government will keep the electric vehicle mandate. By next year, 20% of new passenger vehicles sold in Canada must be either battery-powered or hybrid. It was something car makers clearly wanted to discuss ahead of the meeting.
EV mandate itself is not sustainable. The targets that have been established cannot be met, and that will be part of the discussion.
Those in the industry say EVs currently account for 9% of total sales. And if they fall short, Flavio Volpe says it's the car companies that pay.
To sell regular combustion units, they've got to buy a credit from some company that's earned it, or spend $20,000 per unit on charging infrastructure.
On top of that, those same car companies continue to deal with 25% tariffs from the U.S. Now, there is a carve-out for components that are built in America through the integrated supply chain. Still, Canadian auto exports in the U.S. fell by 23% in April.
They make 6 or 7% a year in profit. If there is a tariff in for 5, 10, 25%, it makes those operations untenable.
According to a readout from the Prime Minister's office, the meeting also looked at ways to make Canada's auto sector more sustainable and competitive in the face of shifting trading relationships, something that could be more urgent if Canada isn't able to strike a trade deal with the U.S. in the next 19 days. Sandy?
All right, Mike, thank you. Now, spurred on by Donald Trump's tariffs, some sectors in this country are reaping the benefits and seeing an increased consumer demand from those who want to buy Canadian. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth has one example which exemplifies the local movement. Hi, Paul.
Sandy, this story is a clear indicator that the buy local trend is strong and continues to grow. The owner of Obie's Market, which opened today, calls this a Made in the Maritimes success story.
I started coming to the market in 2009 and just started it very small, one table at the farmers market on Saturday.
16 years later, Ian O'Brien's once small business, which specializes in locally produced food, has now grown into a permanent facility. O'Brien says when Donald Trump threatened tariffs and many Canadians turned their backs on U.S.-made products, he was perfectly positioned to offer customers what they wanted to buy.
99% of the products I have in my store are either from Nova Scotia or within the Maritimes. So it was easy to kind of say buy local because we are local.
Shoppers like Pam Hayhurst agree. When the U.S.-Canada trade war ramped up, her shopping habits changed.
I definitely think there's an awakening of that. I know for myself, I like the idea of supporting local people, but knowing everything that's going on with Trump, that I'm doing it, that is a way that is helping the broader view. I know it's fresh. I know I'm helping out local farmers, and I feel better about contributing to my community.
This growth comes at a time when the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses has given Nova Scotia the highest score when it comes to removing internal trade barriers, which help promote the sale of goods and products that are produced in Canada. Sandy.
Thanks, Paul. The Princess of Wales spoke candidly today about the long-term challenges of recovering from cancer.
The phase afterwards is really, is a really difficult journey. You're not necessarily in the clinical team any longer, but you're not able to function normally at home as you perhaps once used to. And actually someone to help talk you through that, show you and guide you through that sort of phase that comes after treatment, I think is really valuable.
Catherine spoke to patients, volunteers and staff at a cancer support centre in the UK. She was diagnosed with an unspecified form of cancer in March of 2024 and has gradually resumed her royal duties after being in remission. Coming up, a major blow for Ukraine's defences.
If there was ever a time that Ukraine needed help, it's absolutely now.
What the pause in U.S. military shipments means for Canada's contribution. Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith announced today that the province is officially creating its own police service.
We have formally created the Alberta Sheriff's Police Service to be headquartered right here in Calgary. Threats to public safety are always shifting, and the federal government could decide to redirect the RCMP away from contract policing. So Alberta's government is preparing and acting instead of waiting and reacting.
Smith says a new service isn't meant to replace the RCMP, but to work alongside existing forces. The sheriffs will be run separately from the government with civilian oversight. Smith says more than 80% of Albertans are currently served by municipal police, not the RCMP. Canadian military help for Ukraine may be affected by a new move from the U.S. Pentagon to hold back some weapons meant for Ukrainian forces. CTV's Judy Trin now on the fallout and whether other allies can make up the difference. Judy.
Sandy, the short answer is unlikely. The U.S. is by far Ukraine's biggest military supplier. Just as Ukraine is recovering from Russia's biggest air attack, a barrage of more than 500 drones and missiles over the weekend, the Pentagon is pausing some of its military shipments to Kyiv. The White House said the decision was made to put America's interests first, following a review of the nation's military support and assistance to other countries across the globe. Among the weapon deliveries being halted, the missiles that go into the NASAMS surface-to-air missile system. Canada donated a system last year to Ukraine, but it would be useless without American parts.
It took nearly 2 years to implement and get over to Ukraine. That was for, the system, the launchers, the missiles, the radar, everything that goes into that system. It's very sophisticated. It was for the system. It was a kind of one-time deal. The assumption was, of course, the Americans would continue to supply support to make that system work. I think all guarantees in that respect are off the table.
Last month, Donald Trump also expressed a willingness to step back from supporting Ukraine against Russia.
Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while and then pulling them apart.
For any nation to take a look at his stocks and determine that they're too low and therefore need to be dealt with very carefully is supportable. If this is linked to the warmth that the president feels towards Russia, that's a far more concerning change.
Ukraine is working with European NATO allies to manufacture its own weapons, but this is a strategy that will take months, if not years, to replenish its supply. Sandy.
All right, CTV's Judy Trin in Ottawa. Still ahead, shocking mishap when a tree cutting doesn't go as planned. A Quebec man living north of Montreal has lost his home after a century-old tree was cut down but then fell the wrong way. CTV's Matt Gilmore shares the details.
The moment captured on video. It's when 65-year-old Daniel Delille says he lost everything.
That's my room there. I got 3 rooms upstairs. So it's my bed there. My office, it went the other side. All the stove, everything brand new. The washing machine, table, everything is brand new inside. I lost everything.
On June 23rd, he says a tree felling service was hired to cut down this enormous tree just feet from his back door. Delille, who's been renting the house for 15 years, says he wasn't home when the job was done. Video taken by his neighbors shows the tree was not taken down in pieces. Instead, it appears the plan was to pull the tree away from the house.
There was like a loader pulling out a cable, and I thought like the tree will go on that side, and when I see the bottom of the tree slipping on the wrong side, it's when it's then like I realize it won't be good.
Delille says he rushed home right away and was devastated by what he found.
I like this place. There's got lots of animals coming and everything. I go fishing, I got my boat, I go fishing. No, and I can do nothing. No insurance, I have no money. I have no more nothing.
Video of the incident with the caption, "Wrong Calculations," has gone viral. It's been viewed over 17 million times, but there's one viewer who doesn't see the humor. Delille's community has started a GoFundMe page that's already raised over $7,000 to try to help get him back on his feet. Matt Gilmore, CTV News, Pointe-Calumet, Quebec.
Well, a Canadian soccer star is reportedly striking a deal with one of the most famous clubs in the world.
Lovely little ball through. It's Jonathan David! What a strike from...
Jonathan David looks set to join historic Italian side Juventus, according to multiple media reports. The all-time leading scorer for the Canadian men's team is expected to travel to Turin to undergo a medical before officially signing. Juventus has won a record 36 Italian league titles. After the break, a long, long way from home. The rescue efforts to return a baby seal back to safer waters. For the people of Oka, west of Montreal, seeing a baby seal is rare. So when a wee one was spotted there, it charmed locals but sparked worry from marine animal experts. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchamp is in Oka. And Jen, how did the seal find its way there?
Yes, Andy, this is the spot right here where the seal put in an appearance, wowing spectators, but also leading to a warning about staying away. Sightseers flock to the pier in Oka along the shores of the Lake of Two Mountains, here hoping to catch a glimpse of an unusual visitor to these parts.
We heard about the baby seal. Maybe he will be here, so we went to see.
Earlier this week, the seal, estimated to be about a month old, was caught on camera. A dog and its owner were shocked and charmed by the marine animal, a common harbor seal. It made a journey more than 600 kilometers from its natural habitat in the St. Lawrence estuary and has been spotted a couple of times since.
He should be a bit bigger, which is a bit maybe an indication that he hasn't been feeding as much as he should.
Joanne Simard is an animal lover and a retired bus driver. She has crisscrossed the province and seen seals in the estuary, never here.
Le voir ici perdu, pauvre petit pit, ça me fait le cœur.
It breaks my heart that the baby seal is here so far from its family, she says. But experts at the Quebec Marine Mammal Emergency Response Group have put up a sign warning well-wishers who may be tempted to try to rescue or interact with the seal to admire the animal from afar. It's protected under a federal act.
Cumulative effect of multiple stressors, like human interactions, can have a toll on the seal's survival.
Cheryl McDonald, who lives just a stone's throw away from the pier, says through the baby seal, nature is sending a message.
Go outside. We're in our houses. Come on. We're missing out on nature.
Experts urge those who spot the seal to report his location, but they also hope that he's retracing his steps, heading back home now. Sandy.
Thanks, Jen. And thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Your local CTV News is coming up. We'll see you tomorrow, we hope. Have a nice evening. Bye for now.